Hello and welcome to the Villa Park podcast. My name is Richard Bartlett, and for the first time ever, my microphone is working properly. So hopefully you can all hear me loud and clear. Tonight, I'm joined by two people, a weekly regular, the North East Lions legend, Mr. Richard Sutherland. How are you doing this evening?
I'm very well, thank you. I'm very well. How are
Good.
you, mate?
Yeah, I'm good, thank you. I'm good. And tonight we have a special guest. Um, Without this individual, this podcast wouldn't be as good as it is. For those of you that have been listening for a while, you'll notice that the last kind of 5-6 episodes, we've started having a theme tune. We've started adding some commentary onto the top three games, and it's certainly helped having this guy behind the scenes in the editing suite. So, Mr. Luke Hyde, thank you for joining us. Thank you for stepping from behind the camera and getting in front of it. How you doing?
I'm doing good. I'm glad your mic's working this time because I don't want people thinking, his editing skills are crap.
Well, yeah,
He just needs to sort his
yeah.
audio out. He needs to sort that out.
Yeah, Luke came on this evening and told me off. So that's why the microphone's now working. Luke, thanks ever so much for joining us. We've been trying to get you on for a while, but we know you're very busy. So we appreciate you taking the time to come and discuss all things Villa. So first things first, we're on Tuesday evening, and we had a game on Sunday. Richard, I know you're going to go to the comments on Twitter first, and then we'll discuss, the three of us, our thoughts on Aston Villa's performance.
Yeah. So I think it's probably better because we had some really good comments I put a tweet out pretty much straight after the game, slightly tongue-in-cheek, saying at least we're better than last season, and then a bit more of a serious one in terms of sort of thoughts from that game after cooling down a bit, and then moving into the Leeds game, which again, when we preview the Leeds game, we'll discuss some of the comments. So Jim Casey said we're better second half, but no change of shape. We need to take a chance. We were 2-0 down, and we needed to change the system. Is it a time to experiment with other systems? Nick James, as soon as I saw the lineup, I thought it was optimistically naive versus a decent Leicester who are set up well. Ramsey showed more urgency, drive and quality in limited minutes than Barkley. Midfield again lacking shape and easily overrun. Sanson needs to start, but Target was very good. Paddy McCarthy said, we're 8th placed. The second half was much improved. What else do we want? Without our best player, just about losing to second in the league. Too many of our fans are way too impatient. We are a work in progress. And Andy Keenan said, too inconsistent, but we've done all right this season. Just consistency with us at the moment. So that was sort of directly after the game. Then sort of more measured, I would say. Again, Greg Lowry, first time I've seriously started to get concerns with Smith. We are very one-dimensional and not showing any signs that we have any answers to the problems we're facing. Midfield looks disjointed and without a plan. We sorted the defence last year, but midfield is now the problem. Lack of tactical awareness, reluctant to change the team even when faced with underperforming players and replacements playing well. And then just saying we could easily get a Hyde in against Leeds and Smith will still play the same players. Roll on Jack and Cash getting back. And then just a couple more. Mark Farrington, who regularly contributes, poor from the start. Midfield was nowhere to be seen for James Maddison's goal. The system looked wrong. Louise wasn't where he should have been as the defensive midfielder. There was no anchor in that DM role. Elmo was isolated against Barnes and caught out a few times. El Ghazi was lacking in quality. Barkley, again, a passenger, subs too late. Beckham's better second half, but only 2 shots on target, never really threatened, and poor setup when we knew what Leicester were going to do. And just potentially looking at a lot of changes but for the Leeds game. But as I say, we'll go into that further down the line. So, yeah, I guess it's just a frustrating one. And what we've talked about a lot of times is the same sort of problems: midfield getting overrun, players that are still playing that are potentially out of form. Does that mean there's a lack of trust in some of the players to come in, or is it a reluctance to change it? And yeah, just sort of playing the same system all the time, and is it a chance to change things? Do we need to change up?
What would you do, Luke?
I do agree with most of them comments about the midfield. Like, to be honest, I'm watching the midfield against Leicester, and I just don't know their roles anymore. I'm seeing Barkley's attitude just it looks like it's gone down the drain. Like when I saw him go off and he was just sitting at the end of the whole end, it was just like, what is he doing? Like, what's his problem? But I feel like Sanson now needs a chance to start against Leeds. Alex Scott said it on after the game. How many chances does Barkley need to get? Like, you can use the same excuse about like, oh, he's getting his fitness back and this and that. But like, he doesn't deserve to start.
Mm-hmm.
And I like Barkley as a player, I really do. But when a player's not performing, he shouldn't be starting. And I think Dean's just playing him for like the sake of it, and I don't think he should play him now after the attitude he's been showing after like being taken off. Like he kicked a bottle against Arsenal, didn't he? I think.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he did.
And then he's sitting at the edge of the whole end. So like, I think Sanson should get a chance, or even Jacob should get a start. Him and Sanson, when they came on, they just showed a lot more urgency than McGinn and Barkley did for like the whole game. So I think he needs to like change up the midfield. To be honest with you, the formation Dean plays, I think, is okay. To be honest with you, but I think we're going to miss obviously our talisman in Jack, and I think panic mode set in between like every Villa fan on Twitter and everything when we found out he was injured. But I think we're going to miss Matty Cash a lot more. I think because Elmo's not a very good backup in my opinion.
It's tricky, isn't it? I think with losing Jack and Matty Cash, you've lost players from opposite sides of the pitch that bring balance to both of the sides of the pitch. The point you were making there, Luke, about the midfielders. One of my mates commented that we've got 3 number 8s and we're trying to play them in 2 6s and a 10 formation almost, and we don't have. Whether you've not mentioned, or none of us have mentioned Nakamba, whether Nakamba's the right person to bring in to play that real number 6 role, I don't know. I think it is easy for a Ramsey and a Sanson to come on and just show a little bit more 70 minutes into a game. They will be sent on with the directive of go and try and bring a bit of energy. Try and get something. Shackles are off a little bit more. You don't have to, bed into the game. Just go and try and bring a bit of energy to the midfield. For me, I think our formation needs to change. So we'll look at the game on Sunday, and both Grealish and Cash were obviously out injured. And you're right, Al Mohammed is, I like him. He's a good guy to have around the squad, but he's not good enough to take on Harvey Barnes in a game. No. He's not quick enough. And Martinez probably should have done better with the save for the first goal, but would Matty Cash have been a bit more on his toes and quicker to react, and therefore clear it than Elmo was? Perhaps, but we'll never know. I think you look at Leicester, and the amount of injuries they've had this season, it's unreal how well Brendan Rodgers has worked with his squad. And you then look at Aston Villa, and it almost screams of, and Rich was talking off air about, you could argue that we're on the same path that we might have been on with Steve Bruce, where he doesn't change the formation around. You're crying out for substitutions. You're crying out for some tweaking. I don't think we're anywhere near where we were with Steve Bruce. And for me, I think Dean Smith, as much as I've questioned him in previous seasons, I think he's done fantastically well this season. But he probably needs to step his game up a couple of notches now. I think it's quite similar to how we were with Martin O'Neill, where when the team performed, I mean, for those that are listening, Luke's 20, so I don't even want to ask how old you were when Martin O'Neill was the manager. It will just it embarrassed me really. But almost, he knows what his first 11 is, and they're always going to be the first 11 unless players are injured. And then when you get into a position like we are now, where you have injuries, you haven't blooded in any of the players. They're not bedded in. That they haven't got enough minutes to come and make an impact. They're almost coming on cold because Dean Smith is stuck with his 11. One of the comments I made, I'd be interested to get your thoughts on this, Luke. I think the wingers need to tuck in a bit more and create a midfield five when the opposition have the ball. I think we're too focused on what we're going to do offensively, which then leaves our three midfielders. Well, they're never three midfielders, are they? Ross Barkley's never doing a defensive role. It leaves our two midfielders facing four other players, and they're just never going to, be able to soak that up. When you said earlier, Luke, that you think the formation works, do you think that there are some tweaks that maybe Dean Smith could make to it?
I think so. Yeah. It's just like you put me on the spot here because I feel quite nervous.
It's all right.
But,
listen, the amount of rubbish that we come out with, Luke, honestly, you could start speaking Spanish and it'd be fine.
Yeah, maybe they should give you really.
Well, I think you mentioned Sanson, didn't you? Like,
yeah.
It's whether. Are they going to make it? Are they going to make a difference? Is Sanson really going to make a difference in that team? And Rich said there, you bring Ramsey on, you bring Sanson on for the last 15 minutes, and they're all, it's like you say, it's boom or bust. You can bring them on, and they can, they're bound to show something because they can't do much worse than what's been before them. But I suppose it's whether you think that, if Nakamba comes in for McGinn or for Louise and Sanson comes in for one of them too, is that going to shore up our midfield? Is that going to be anything majorly different to what we've already got? I suppose. I mean, you can say that McGinn's not performing to what he maybe should be at the moment. I think he looks like he's carrying a bit to me. I think he's carrying a bit of weight. I don't know what you guys think of that, but I don't think he's as sharp as what he has been.
Maybe.
But at the same time, you are right. He's pulled all over the pitch. So it could be a case of dropping those midfielders back into a five. And I've mentioned before we miss like a dominant midfielder, but obviously that's not going to be rectified potentially until pre-season. But yeah, I think it is. I think Luke's right. It is time to maybe freshen things up in that midfield a bit. You've got a team like Leeds who make a lot of changes. I think the other point is that when you talked about Leicester with managing their injuries and managing their squad, for me, Brendan Rodgers looks at each team he's playing and picks a team and picks a tactical like a tactical strategy for every game that he's playing. Like sometimes he might, and he does it mid-game as well, like he might move into a little bit of a diamond formation, or then he might expand out to a 4-2-3-1 or a 4-3-3. Like he does it during games, whereas with us it's like 4-3-3, that's it.
Yeah,
potentially a 4-2-1-3 potentially,
Yeah.
but it's just that's it. Like there's never or there's never a substitution after like 30 minutes, like Bielsa does quite a lot if it's not working, or a substitution at half time. It's hardly ever that happens, or double substitution to affect the game or something like that. Or and even before that, when players have played really well in previous games, like Nakamba or El Ghazi was nominated for Player of the Month in December.
Yeah.
And his confidence has been totally shot because he's thinking, well, what's the point? I get nominated for Player of the Month and then I've lost my place because Ross Barkley's back fit.
Well, Bielsa made a change against the Villa 30 minutes in. I forget who it was, but he got a yellow card and he was just being overrun and he changed it.
Even Tuchel on the with Chelsea took Hudson-Odoi off like in the second half. He wasn't performing well.
Yeah, and he started with him tonight against Atletico. I think it does remind me a little bit of Martin O'Neill in that Dean Smith has his men, and yes, absolutely, he will want to improve the squad, but you know what Villa team you're going to get. You know what the formation is going to be. As you touched on, Richard, there's not many huge changes made during a game, and I don't necessarily agree that what Brendan Rodgers does is correct. I think sometimes you've got to let teams worry about you rather than you worrying about every team. But yeah, you do need to tweak things around. And I think we're looking at a midfield, and the constant complaint is that we've been overrunning midfield. And talk about John McGinn carrying some weight. He's carrying about 13 stone of Ross Barkley at the moment, mate.
Yeah.
Like it's just a luxury play. If Ross Barkley's scoring every third game and creating goals in the other games, then fine. McGinn and Lewis can carry him till the cows come home, but he's not. And Luke, you pointed out as well, like his attitude when he gets substituted. Nobody wants to see a happy player a player being happy being substituted, but Dean Smith almost has to manage that and take him out of the firing line a little bit, and or think, well, if I want Ross Barkley to play in my team, how am I going to get the best out of him? Is it playing him in that role where he's playing? I don't know. And some of the things we've spoken about, we think Ollie Watkins is having a wonderful season, but God, it's like no one wants to get near him. He's the ball, unfortunately, at the moment doesn't stick to him as much as we would like, and that'll come in time. But the players, the Jacks or the Trezes or the El Gazes or the Trails are so far away from Watkins when he gets the ball. Ross Barkley's nowhere near him either. And you watch something, a Leicester team with a Maddison playing, and you just think, Barkley, that's the player you could be. And I don't know. Yeah,
we've seen it in numerous games in the last few weeks, haven't we?
Yep.
Lingard came in against for West Ham in his first game, and he did exactly what Barkley should be doing.
Yeah.
Like you say, Luke, typical. Maddison does exactly what Barkley should be doing against us on Sunday, and that just adds to the frustration, because that, well, as we said in the last one when we did our midfield review, there's a player there, it.
Yeah.
It's just not showing. And
I also feel like Ollie Watkins is doing more than one job on that pitch, and like he's got to create the chances as well, not only just score them. Like you saw him nearly create a chance for, was it El Ghazi, got it onto Bertrand Traore. It was a great cross. It's like I feel like he's really isolated at the moment, and I feel like when we started this season off, it felt something fresh and new, and like teams were quite shocked when they came up against us. But now I feel like you say, Dean's keeping it like the same thing over and over every week. It's like teams are kind of like picking things out, spotting it.
They know what to expect. They do, and we know there's a talent in Ross Barkley, so it's Dean Smith's job to bring that out.
Yeah,
and he must be seeing something on the training pitch to play me, to constantly play me in that position.
Yeah, well, that was obviously before we sort of close off on the game. The slightly concerning thing for me was Smith's comments after the game. Where he's sort of saying that Ross Barkley's numbers look really good. Well, I'm not sure if he's picked 5 numbers in the bonus ball on the lottery, but I don't know what numbers he's looking at, because he's not creating any chances. He's not scoring any goals, barring one against Southampton. He's not really having any shots. He's not making any key passes. So what numbers he's looking at, I really don't know. So you've already, and that just worries me a bit, because that's like, does he have to play? I mean, to be fair, he probably does have to play at the moment, because with Jack out, we've literally got nobody to potentially create anything. So yeah, and as Luke says there, with Ollie Watkins, absolutely running his arse off every game, perhaps sometimes too much, to be honest. If we're being slightly critical, I think he probably just feels like he has to do too much work, and sometimes he's not in the areas where maybe Traore could find him, or Barkley potentially could find him, because he's running into every channel. But maybe he feels like he's got to do that. But slightly concerned about Smith's comments, and unfortunately, we will go in, like when we go into the attackers review, you'll just see the statistics, and without Grealish, it is just frightening. So I don't envisage there being many victories at all. And lastly, just if you take it, I've said this before, but if you take off the first 4 wins of the season, our form is 1-7, drawn 3, lost 9, right? And that's 1.2 points per game. Now, that isn't anything much more than a team that finishes in 13th or 14th. So
It's nothing to be excited about, is it?
No, that is our level, and we keep saying how brilliant we've done, and look at us, we're sitting in 8th. Let's have some perspective here, but the blatant perspective is, unless we go on another run of winning 4 games in a row, it's going to level itself out, and we are going to finish like then that between 10th to 14th. So it's whether you think that's good or not. That's the thing.
I don't know if it's just me, but I feel like at the start of the season, I don't know if it's just me, like we had like a point to prove. Like now we've signed like these big players like Barkley on loan, Emmy in goal from Arsenal. I felt like we had like a point to prove, and like we put so much effort into like the first games of the start of the season. And now, unfortunately, because we had obviously the coronavirus outbreak at Bodymore, I feel like it's really affected our morale kind of a bit. If you agree with me, like our form.
It took the wind out of our sails a little bit. It absolutely did, but you could also argue that it gave us 2 weeks to rest. And in case some of the players definitely had COVID. We don't know who. Well, we know a few of them. Mate Target was one of them. But God, give it him again. Like give it all of them. Like he was. He's bounced back fantastically well. But you're right. Like it's definitely taken the wind out of our sails. And my concern is, as Rich pointed out, like where do we go from here? And it's interesting. Like, when I have some time, I will listen back to all of the podcasts that we've recorded, because I do accept that sometimes, we'll jump on air and we're singing one tune, and the next week we're singing a different tune. And like all football fans, we're fickle, right? We're not going to hide away from that, but we're fickle with some substance behind it. We don't just go, oh, we like Dean Smith, the next week we don't like Dean Smith. Or, most weeks we say, isn't Jack amazing? But we won't this week because obviously he didn't play. I think there's got to be a tweaking in the formation. I think someone needs to help Elmo a bit more on the right hand side, and I think we probably have to go back to a 4-4-2, or at least have take Barkley out and put Nakamba in as a sitting midfield, and let John McGinn and Douglas Luiz push forward a bit more, and release them to be a bit more offensive than they are at the moment, and know that Nakamba can just sweep up, play an El Ghazi on one side and a Trez on the other, because they're going to put shifts in, and then bring a Traore in against tired legs, with 20 minutes left to try and create something. But God, just play Watkins and even play Ross Barkley off Ollie Watkins, have them as a front two, or just something to keep people guessing. Because the one thing that we've had this season, whether we look at the first 4 games, of the season when we had a point to prove and we were doing fantastically well, or other games where we've gone on victorious, we've got Jack Grealish. So it doesn't matter how poor the rest of the team play, give him the ball and he'll create something, he'll do something. Now we don't have that. And I think, Sunday was probably a window into what next season might look like, because if we do finish 13th, 14th, and there aren't any, big checks put down for big players, then you've got to shake Grealish's hand and take him wherever he wants to go, because he's not a player that wants to be in a club that's going to end up being 14th. So I think Dean Smith's got some big decisions to make. We've got to make ourselves hard to beat. If we can't beat teams, then we need to make ourselves hard to beat. But there was a comment that you read out, Rich, that said Leicester are second in the league. Mm-hmm. And they have been on fire, and they tore Liverpool apart. Okay, they beat them 3-1. I think that scoreline flattered Leicester a little bit, but we still were almost there. We all, maybe the game goes on for 10 more minutes and we nick a draw. I don't know, but I think more than anything, whether it's a Leicester, whether it's a Brighton, it's that wind has gone out of our sails now.
Yeah,
and teams probably don't fear us.
I mean, the perspective, and after the game, you are really, pissed off with it all. But when you do look back at it, you think, well, Leicester are pretty much on really good form. They've just come off the back of beating Liverpool, but I think the worrying part of it is they didn't really have to get out of second gear. I know we're talking about an improved second half, and we came into it and got a goal, but they made a couple of tweaks again, a couple of little substitutions, snuffed us out, and Didi got a fairly early yellow card, but wasn't troubled at all, and again dominates that central midfield area. Tielemans, very, very intelligent footballer, and they've got real weapons to be able to switch up tactics, so they can play the possession based game and get 1-0, 2-0 up. Then they can play on the break, because they know they've got the pace of Harvey Barnes, and they know they've got the pace of Vardy on the break. So they have got a very well balanced team that has been built up over numerous seasons. Which, you know, if you've got your hat on of let's get some perspective here, then you're thinking, right, well, let's give it 2, 3, 4 seasons. But as you said, you might lose a Jack Grealish in the summer because we aren't progressing as well as he may want or he may think. He may give us another season. I don't know, but
also they made a good point during the game. I think Leicester have sold about £280 million worth of players over the last 3 years.
So they've invested it very well.
And you know, they every season they almost lose, other than maybe when Vardy didn't go to Arsenal, 5-6 years back. They've always lost their best player every season, and they've invested heavily in their youth setup. They've gone out and scouted well, and we'll probably get to the end of the season, and I imagine a James Maddison will probably go, maybe, or a Harvey. I think Harvey Barnes is probably a bit too soon in his career, but Leicester, the shop is always open at Leicester, and they still develop. So we'll see if you like.
I do really like watching Leicester as a team. I feel like watching them grow as a team through like the years, like in the Premier League, it's just like amazing. Like they got rid of Mahrez to Man City, but then like they invest, don't they?
Yeah.
And just like they look a solid to me. They look like a solid top team now. Like they've been for quite a while now, in my opinion. And just like, like you said, we're nearly there, but like maybe we will lose Grealish in a couple of seasons, but like we just need that depth now because Leicester have got the depth on the bench.
Absolutely.
Like they'd bring on a Marte on to like just see the game out. We've got like Sanson now maybe, but like if we'd have had a backup right back maybe for like Matty Cash, we could have had a better chance in that game. But like you said, Elmo was just like it's not the quality we need now because like we're aiming for bigger things now. Like if we need that depth now and just to keep growing, in my opinion.
Yeah, no, listen, I totally agree. Well, one thing we have got, and we've spoken about the formation that we play, we've got a fair number of offensive players. We've certainly got depth in that area, and so let's move on to our mid-season review. I know you've been listening, Luke, because you've been forced to edit it. So I don't know if you'd listen if you didn't have that job, but you've obviously heard the review around the defense, around the midfield that we did in the last one. So now it's the attackers, and we've grouped in what some might describe as wide forwards or wingers, and we've also we've got a fair few people to discuss. So Rich, why don't you start us off?
Yeah, cool. Well, I'll leave probably the strongest one till one or two till the end. But we'll maybe pick Bertrand Traore first.
Okay.
And he's probably been that wild card, hasn't he? I've mentioned that before. He's that bit of a wild card player. You don't quite know what you're going to get with him, but he can win you games, but he can frustrate you in equal measure. But I think from him, that certainly the last kind of month to 6 weeks, he's been probably one of the bright sparks really of the team. He has been up and down in certain games, but his output has been excellent. So in terms of his passes, he's 81% success rate. His dribbles, he's made 26 successful dribbles, which is 57%. His key passes is 14. His chances created has been 17 with 3 assists and also 5 goals. So that's 8 goal involvements, which is, from a wide midfielder back in the Premier League after playing out in France is pretty good. Only really missed 1 big chance. But I'd probably say the most disappointing part of it is that he's only had an 18% accuracy in his crosses, and that's been 13 in total. So, that we said there was probably mitigating factors there, Rich, and obviously Luke as well, is that we don't now get many players in the box. So if you're putting a cross in again, then you've only got 1 or maybe 2 attacking players against 5 defenders. It's going to be a tough ask to be really accurate. So I've given him an 8 out of 10, just purely because don't quite know what we expected from him. And I think in terms of that output, in terms of goals and potentially a couple more assists, but certainly in terms of goals, I think that's probably exceeded expectations.
What are your thoughts on Traore, Luke?
I like Traore. I think he was a very good buy from Lyon. I think everyone, like most of the Villa fans, wanted Ben Rama, didn't they? Really.
Yeah.
But then obviously we went into for Traore, and I knew about a little bit about him because he played for Chelsea for a bit, and then he obviously went to Lyon. I think one thing he could improve on his game is he could track back a lot more, or just sometimes he can get a bit tired, quite easily. So maybe he could improve his tracking back in training. Maybe he's very one-footed, isn't he? I don't know if you've noticed. He's very one-footed.
Yeah.
He always has to go on his left foot to cross it in. But I like Traore as a winger. I think he's good. I think he will improve more. It's his first season back in the Premier League for God, how many years? So I'd give him a 7 out of 10. I think he's a good player. Especially when you get him in a game like he played against Albion. Like we saw that game where he just played. He was on top of his game, weren't he? Really. So if he can show that in most of the games, he'll be a very good player for us in the future seasons. So for me, it's a 7 out of 10 for me.
Okay, I a couple of bits that I'd add. I think when he first joined us, he was shit, and it took him a bit of time to get up to speed, and there was a few international breaks, and he's traveling from the other side of the world from his international games, etc. And it took him a bit of time to get up to speed, but I think after Jack Grealish, he's our most dangerous player, but I think he's our most dangerous player when he plays with Matty Cash. So what I think would be interesting is not the number of crosses that he's put in, but how many assists he's given Matty Cash for crosses. Because I think what Traore is he's an inside forward, not a winger.
Yeah.
So, your winger, you expect to hit the byline, get a cross in. Traore is not about that. Traore is about cutting inside. And I think that point is proved by the number of key passes. Because you wouldn't necessarily analyze a winger and look at their key passes. Traore, as you say, Luke, he cuts in on his left hand, on his left foot, and he'll find a pass. I think his goals, for someone that's only really been playing from, you mentioned the Baggers game. The Baggers game was back in December, right? And that's when El Ghazi was on fire. So we're talking about this is February, and he's got 5 goals. I think I saw what was the stat, like 5 goals in 8 games or something that he's completed this season. I might have made that stat up, by the way, but
I don't think it's far off.
No, it's
like you say.
It's not. I saw it, and it was definitely applauding his success. And I remember thinking, it's impressive. He comes up with goals when you don't expect, or when you least expect him to, and he'll pull a rabbit out of a hat, which other players don't have the ability to do. He'll see something. It was against the Baggies when he scored that goal, when he hit it when most people were still
driven shot.
Still busy putting the kettle on because they didn't expect him to do it, and it was just like you wouldn't get any other players doing that. I think he's definitely an inside forward. He's not a winger, and as I said, it'd be interesting to see how many crosses Matty Cash has made off the back of Traore finding him. But then, as Rich pointed out, it doesn't matter if you cross the ball and if there's only one striker. If it was a 4-4-2 and Traore's job was to get more crosses in, and we had 2 strikers, then I think those stats would be a little bit higher. I think I'm going to sit on the fence and go 7.5. I think when we get to the end of the season, it'll be more like 8.5. I think we'll be really impressed with the impact he's had, as you've both touched on. He's been out of the Premier League for a while. It takes time to get to the pace of the game. But you know what he's got? He's got composure on the ball as well. He's got a bit of style with it. And I do think that partnership between him and Cash will be one that we'll look back on. And, I think his name is put on the team sheet half the time because of how well he plays with Cash and what they're able to create. So I've been impressed with him. I think he's a really good signing. He was 18, 19 million quid, which is, it's a lot of money in outside of football, but in football that's an absolute steal. I think for someone that's contributed 5 goals, I think that'll get to double figures by the end of the season. And I think we'll be looking back going, he's one of the performers of the season.
Do you think he will work well with El Mohammadi though? Or
No,
would you rather have
because I think El Mohammadi will probably have a heart attack if he gets past the halfway line. So I don't think El Mohammadi should be like should be overlapping Traore. Yeah, I think El Mohammadi has got arguably one of the best crosses in the Villa squad. I think he's got a fantastic delivery, but you don't often see El Mohammadi getting to the byline and crossing it in. It's usually like those deep, 18, 20, 25 yards out, and it's almost like he's caught up with the play. Traore has knocked it back and he's crossed it in.
Because like I've mentioned, like Bertrand Traore doesn't really like, sometimes he doesn't track back as often as he should really. Like, do you reckon, like, because I feel like Trezeguet does that more than
he does,
Traore.
yeah.
Yeah, would you rather, like, with Cash out at the moment? I know Traore's on a bit of form, but would you start Trezeguet to help Mohammadi out more to track back?
Luke, it's a good point. If I was Dean Smith, I'd drop Barkley and I play three in the middle, so you've got a bit more width in that central three, so you don't necessarily need a Traore to track back, because I just think you're probably asking him to do something that listen, I'm sure he'd do it, but I'd much rather see him further up the pitch, helping Watkins out when we're trying to take some pressure off the defence, than having Ross Barkley play when we could put a Sanson or a Ramsey in there. But you mentioned Trezeguet, so he's next on the list.
Yeah, I think let's jump through Trezeguet and El Ghazi maybe together, because I think they've probably interchanged quite a bit in terms of games. So Trez obviously started the season pretty well. I think with him, you know what you're going to get. You're going to get hard work, but you're not really going to get much else, to be quite frank. So he's 80% accurate passes from only 152 passes, which strikes me as very, very low. We've had 1 assist from him, 8 shots on target. Shooting is a real weakness with him, though. I feel like he doesn't get any sort of power on any of his shots. That's 47%, but hasn't contributed any goals as yet. 9 key passes, 5 big chances missed. I can think of that one against Brighton, which was a really big chance. 56% of dribble from 10 dribbles that have been successful. 56% of dribbles that are successful, which are 10, and 3 accurate crosses, which is 13%. But his interceptions are reasonably high at 14 for that position. And I think, as we've said before there, with Traore being an attacking sort of inside forward, Trezeguet is that more defensive wide player who can pop up with a goal, is a bit of a tireless runner, but you're not getting anywhere near the attacking output that you can get from a Traore. But then if you change the formation slightly, you might get a bit more out of Trezeguet. I don't know, but I think he's one to kind of look at moving on in the summer. I think he's been given he scored a couple of key goals for us towards the end of last season, but I think I don't see him as being having a long-term future with Villa. But I've put 6 on there, but I'm talking myself into giving him a 5 actually.
Okay,
5 out of 10.
I'll jump in and give my thoughts on Trezeguet. We'll go to you, Luke, if you don't mind. I think when you were talking about him just then, I think that arguably a good formation that Villa could play in Jack's absence is you could play Trez and El Ghazi as wingers, and you could play Traore behind a Watkins. Because I think Traore's got the creativity to float around and create things, where a Trez is going to hit the byline, get a crossing, he's going to trap back and he's going to defend. I don't know. I think you've been a bit harsh. I think there were a few games where he was putting effort in.
Effort is a minimum expectation.
Yeah, no, that is true. When in the cold light of day, when you look at his stats, 5 big chances missed is the concerning one. I'm sure Dean Smith would argue, if it was Ross Barkley missing 5 big chances, that at least he's getting himself into those positions to miss them. But I was surprised that we kept him in the summer. I thought his time was up, but then there was almost an improvement in his ability. Probably the first third of this season, maybe the first quarter, but now Traore's up to speed. Yeah, I don't know. I think sometimes Trezeguet gets brought on at the wrong time in games. He's almost brought on when we're trying to chase a goal, and that's not what he's about.
Yeah.
You'd much rather start with him and bring a Traore on with 30 minutes left because he's going to create something. So yeah, maybe 6 is a bit fair. I think there'll be some people that would argue that he should get a 7, and others that might argue that you were right when you were suggesting a 5. What are your thoughts, Luke?
Yeah, I was thinking like on the line of like 5, 6. I'll go 5.5 to be on the fence this time. Yeah, I think Trez is one of them players now. We'll just bring him on the last maybe 10 minutes now, just like you say. That's his role at the moment now. I think Troy has got that role locked off. I think Ollie will play if we change formation, but we just don't know when that will happen. But like you said, he's missed so many like clear chances, and the Brighton game stood out to me because the amount of chances he missed was just like, yeah, you can't be doing like that as like at this level in the game, really. Yeah, I agree with you, Trez. I liked him as a player, but like again, I just don't see him staying either for much longer.
Okay, and then
Cool.
that brings us on to
El Ghazi.
Ghazi.
Yeah. So again, a player who's kind of come in fits and starts, and I do feel like the wind has totally been taken out of his sails in terms of that wonderful period he had in December, and then he's kind of just been thrown in a couple of games, and he's a massive confidence player, isn't he, El Ghazi? Like we know that after the kind of the comments from Tyrone Mings after the Wolves penalty and whatnot, and then that really gave him a boost. The Burnley game, he got the start, and then he sort of flew out from there. But then the last couple of games where he has started, you just see the weakness of El Ghazi in terms of physically, getting pushed off the ball. He kind of just shrinks into his shell a bit in terms of like that. Just not really sort of putting himself out there on the pitch and saying that I'm here to be counted, sort of thing. And so that's been a bit of a struggle for him. But the frustrating part of it is he has got some good numbers. He does produce. So he's got 149 accurate passes, which is 74%. He's got a 68% dribble success rate from 19 dribbles. He's had 16 shots on target, which is 76%, which is excellent. We know that he's got a good strike, and he's scored 5 goals. Hasn't actually had an assist yet, but has created 11 chances. Again, only 7 accurate crosses at 19%. We've already stated this, potentially down to the fact that we don't have many players in the box.
Yep.
But the shooting statistics and the goals return in terms of the lack of games that he's actually played is actually very, very good. I just feel like potentially not all his fault. He's had the wind clips from him, and he's needs to find that bit of confidence back, because we are going to have to rely on him at the moment with Jack being out. So he needs to find some form from somewhere. So I'm actually going to go slightly higher than what I've put on now. I'm going to give him a 6.5 out of 10.
Okay, and Luke, what are your thoughts on Anwar?
I really like Anwar. I like him as a player, and I was so proud of him for when he got his confidence back. Because after the Bristol City game, he got so much hate, and it was him and Henry Lansbury who deleted their accounts, wasn't it, on social media? But when he found his confidence, I think he's an amazing player. Like, he's got so much talent, and I felt like you said the confidence was taken out of him when Barkley returned from injury and El Ghazi was back on the bench, and he was nominated for Player of the Month. So but now we're relying on him to basically take Grealish's place in a way. But at the moment, I feel like he's, like you said, Rich. He's a confidence player. He needs the confidence to play at his ability, top ability. So it's he needs to find it again, really, because I know he's got it. Because I think we all know he's got it. But personally, I do like El Ghazi as a player. So I will give him a 7.
Okay, I think we can't applaud Traore for his 5 goals and not acknowledge that, you know, no matter what El Ghazi does or doesn't do, if he scored 5 goals halfway through the season, that's a really good return. Arguably, he could have been handled and managed better. You know, after he had a fantastic month in December, and unfortunately, he's been dropped to accommodate Barkley. I still think an Aston Villa team looks better with Jack Grealish playing in the central role behind Ollie Watkins, and then you can have a Traore and El Ghazi. And I think what you get more, I mean, it's not an option at the moment because obviously, you know, there's talk that Jack might be back for the Leeds game, but he probably won't be. What I think you get out of a confident El Ghazi is more than you get out of Ross Barkley. Because if we look at the stats, Ross Barkley scored 2 goals this season and played a lot more.
Three.
Sorry, and played a lot more than El Ghazi has.
Yeah.
And El Ghazi's got 5. And again, you know, I think some of the stats around crosses are just a bit misleading because, you know, it'd be interesting to see how many actually got into the box, you know, were put into dangerous positions, because he can't control who's getting on the end of it or not, or who's in the box. I like him, you know, like you said, Luke, he's a good guy, and he's actually, like, he's got all the physical attributes to be really powerful and athletic, and it is a surprise when he gets pushed off the ball. And I think sometimes that comes down to just his mental approach and his lack of confidence. If he goes into a challenge knowing he's going to get beaten, then it doesn't matter how strong he is, he's going to get beaten. I think he needs a run in the game, but my concern is he'll get a run in the game whilst Grealish is injured. You might see a bit more out of him, and then he just gets dropped because Grealish returns. And yeah, I think Smith's got some tricky decisions to make, and you know, it's interesting. There's a lot of things that are happening in football that probably wouldn't happen if fans were in the stadium. You know, I think Steve Bruce would no longer be in his job at Newcastle. I think who else were they saying the other day wouldn't have that job anymore if maybe Roy Hodgson wouldn't have his job anymore if fans were in the stands. I think the Villa fans would let Dean Smith know their thoughts on Ross Barkley a bit more if they'd be in the stands. So we'll never know if the season or the formation or the players picked would have been different. But I do think that Dean Smith now needs to look at what he's going to try and do, how he's going to build this team, who are going to be his players, and does he go with an El Ghazi that he knows if he can get back to the level he was at in December, he's got a real handful on his hands, and you've all of a sudden got El Ghazi at full pelt, Traore's had a fantastic start, and a Jack Grealish as that front 3 running at your defence. Like, you won't know which way to look.
Yeah.
Or and know that they're his 3 players, or does he can persist with a Ross Barkley, who, as you pointed out earlier, Rich, might have something in the agreement that he's got to play a certain amount of minutes, you know, a certain amount of games. Who knows? But I think El Ghazi, if what he did in December, for me, deserves a 7 out of 10. I don't think we need to talk about Jack Grealish.
That's fair. Well, let me just quickly, because I'll quickly run through the stats.
Yeah, you've done the research, so at least read about it.
We don't need to spend long.
Let's go out a bit.
Yeah. So he's got 6 goals, 18 shots on target. He's got 10 assists. His key passes is 75, and he's created 85 chances. It is ridiculous. Like, compared to the other players, it is just. And this is what I'm saying. Like, what we're missing here, what we're missing when he's injured.
Yeah.
And you almost want kind of that to be slightly lower, and then
shared around the rest of the team a bit more.
Weight taken by other players, because it is just crazy when you're looking at those statistics. And 61 successful dribbles, which is 66%. So the number of dribbles that he's making every game, and he's succeeding in 2/3 of them, he's just unreal. So the one weakness that I've got for him, and I've put the accurate crosses here, that we're not really using that. His set piece delivery is just woeful. It's absolutely rubbish.
You can't have it all, Rich. You can't have it all.
Exactly, you can't have it all. So I'll give him a 9 out of 10, just because of that. But I mean, man, he's just crazy. Actually, I'm going to give him 9.5 because that
No,
would
you're not.
mean
You
that
know you're not. You're going to give him 10. He's a 10 out of 10 every day of the week. Now,
he's not. He's
I'm,
not. You got to go
He has
half
some off
again for the
days, doesn't he? He has
set
some off
pieces.
games.
Set pieces aren't good enough.
I'm going to mute
So
both of you. He's a 10 out of 10.
right, go on, quick mark then, Luke. What are you saying?
9.9 out of 10.
Rich, what are you saying?
He's a 10. He's a 10 every day of the week for me. He's
Right.
the only player that we've had in probably the last 10 years that, or perhaps ever, that would walk into any team in the world anywhere.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying we've already said he's our best player that we've ever had, and that, but yeah, I mean, set pieces for me, it's not good enough, Jack.
Yeah, he was practicing them on Instagram, and he got 3 out of 3 apparently.
Well,
so
yeah,
I don't know.
It's easy in training, Luke.
Yeah.
It's easy in training. So finally, just Ollie Watkins. Again, a player who's come from the Championship, and we knew he was a good player.
Yeah.
Didn't quite know what to expect from him stepping up into the Premier League. And I think we can all say it's been a real success. And the statistics here to me show what we were saying at the start of the season when we were doing the earlier podcast, is that he is a real all-rounder.
Yeah.
10 goals, 2 assists, 26 key passes, 28 chances created, 11 big chances missed, which he'll be very disappointed about, 14 block shots, 57% of successful dribbles, of which are 25 of those. And I will say crosses because he's the highest percentage out of all of the, I think maybe apart from Barkley, but he's had 5 accurate crosses, which is 36% of his crosses. So yeah, a third of his crosses are actually, I don't know who he's crossing to in the box because he's the one who's meant to be in the box. But yeah, I mean, just a great first half, or just over half to the season in the Premier League, and started off with a bang, obviously with the hat-trick against Liverpool. Went on a bit of a barren run and has come back and scored quite consistently the last few games. It's going to be interesting to see what he's going to be like without Jack for a few weeks, and he's probably going to have to really step up. But I've given him an 8.5 out of 10.
Okay, Luke, what do you think of Ollie?
Yeah, I love Ollie. He's a great striker. I liked him at Brentford as well, and Dean Smith he obviously rates him as a player because he signed him at Brentford and then he signed him at Villa. You could say with Brentford FC, kind of, but yeah, he's an all-round player, isn't he? He works his arse off every single game. He'll put a cross in, he'll be in the box, he'll always run for the ball, and I just love that work from him. I just wish he got a challenge from another striker, but we haven't got another striker, have we yet?
Yeah.
Keenan, we know Keenan, but when Wesley comes back, he can give Ollie that kind of push to even improve more.
Yeah.
So to get more goals, and because he went through a bit of a sticky patch anyway. He was very unlucky not to score. He was offside a few times, like VAR. But overall, you couldn't ask for a better season. Maybe a few more goals, but overall, he's a brilliant striker. So I'd give him an 8 out of 10.
Yeah, I think I'll probably give him an 8 out of 10. I think 10 goals is a great return. I've said before, and I'll say it again. I think when players score hat tricks in games, it kind of like fudges the figures a little bit.
Yeah,
it does.
It's brilliant scoring a hat trick, isn't it?
Oh God, yeah, get against the league champions. It's a wonderful achievement for him. The thing that surprises, well, it doesn't surprise me, but the thing that worries me is the number of chances that he creates. I would just want Ollie Watkins to be a bit more selfish. I want Ollie Watkins never to leave the 18-yard box. He shouldn't have to, but he does, and he whether that's because he used to play as a winger, so he naturally gravitates, or he's the only striker, so he's running. If he's running the lines and he's working the pitch, if he's the furthest person forward and the ball goes long, then he's got to go where the ball is. He's got to go where the space is. I think he needs to toughen up a little bit. The ball needs to stick to him a little bit better. But a return of 10 goals, I think, has been fantastic. I don't think you'll find any pundit that will have a bad word to say about Ollie Watkins, because every game where he hasn't scored scored a goal, he's done something, he's created something, he's been, there's games that Villa have won where he hasn't gotten the score sheet, but none of the goals would have been scored without his input, and that isn't just his effort of him running around. He's played a big part in the scoring of the goals. So I think when Wesley got injured, he was up to about 8 goals, and it was around January time, wasn't it? So there's been a similar return.
I think it was 6.
6, okay.
Six Premier League goals, and I think he maybe got one in the
against
Liverpool's kids. So yeah, maybe 7 total. But I think Watkins is on 12 total, isn't he? That's 10 Premier League goals. But I guess
the point I was going to make is as Luke said, when we get Wesley back, hopefully there'll be a bit of competition. Just the fact that there's someone that isn't Keenan Davis that can score goals in the Premier League sat on the bench, and I also think, it gives Dean Smith the opportunity to rest him a little bit, to give him 20 minutes at the end of each game, because I can't think of a time where he's been substituted.
No,
I think he's played every minute this season, and in all other places we've got options to bring players on. Okay, granted they might not be as good as the player we've got on the pitch, but we've got options, and that offensive 4 that we play. Watkins is the only one that okay, Jack doesn't really often get a rest, but I think Watkins could do with a little bit of competition, someone to push him, and a little bit of a rest. But I think 8 out of 10. I think we'll get to the end of the season and we'll be really pleased, as we will be with Traore, that we've got him on our team. That and he'll just learn the game a bit more, the Premier League game a bit more. I think for someone that was playing on the wing 2 years ago, I think we've had a fantastic return on him. So there we go. That is our mid-season review. I think there's who knows what it'll be like when we do our end of season review, or we'll do our 3/4 season review. I mean, we'll probably be doing reviews every our week 28 review. But I think for me, we're in a position I didn't think we were going to be in. And it's, you will have heard us speak about this, Luke. It's that almost that trying to understand what our identity is, not with the style of play, but who are we? Are we a team that should be pushing for top 8, top 6, or should we be a team that understands that progression is a 10th to 14th finish, and then we can build from that? So I think the second half will be really interesting. Dean Smith's teams tend to have a stronger second half to the season. He will have learned a lot about his players in the first half. So actually, with the announcement that came yesterday, we might one of us might be lucky enough to see a game at Villa Park this season.
Who knows? Who knows?
I miss it so much.
I mean, we'll publish these out on the Twitter and Instagram in terms of our marks that we've given for defence, midfield and attack, and you guys listening, let us know your thoughts. I know we had quite a few contributions over the last few weeks to kind of marks out of 10, so it'd be interesting to see, and comparing it. I think we did it in grades, didn't we? A to E at the start when we did the first episode. So it'd be interesting though to see at the end of the season, what's fluctuated, who's moved up, who's moved down in terms of our ratings. So really good fun to do.
Yeah, no, it is, and there'll be a lot of players that will show more in the second half because they've got the experience of the first half of the season. But I just worry that if they're not managed correctly, if they're not rested correctly, if the squad isn't used correctly, then you've also got the danger of them just burning out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was having that conversation with my friend the other day. He said, I said it to you as well, just like we put so much effort into that start of the season, always like kind of slowly burning out now, and like teams are figuring us out more. But like I feel like Dean does need to I can't remember what game it was, but he frustrated me so much that he didn't bring on a substitution until like the 80th minute, something like that. It might have been Burnley.
I think it was Burnley, when we needed something.
Yeah, and it just frustrated me so much. And it's like he did it a few times last season as well. He just he waits till for something to happen. It's usually when we concede a goal to make a substitution, and it's like, why didn't you make that one earlier? Mm-hmm. And it's just like you can see when some players are tired, you're like, make the sub, and then we concede a goal. It's like, okay, we'll bring him off now. It's like
it's tricky, isn't it? I think for me, I'd like one of you pointed out earlier that Jack has done so much that it would be better if that was shared across the team. And I think if you can pick some performances, Liverpool being one of them, where Villa look like one of the best teams in the world, and there's other performances like the one against Burnley, or more recently you got the Burnley one, you got the Brighton one, you got the West Ham one, you've got the Leicester one, where we look like. We're like a lower league team playing in a cup game that's just, pleased just to share the pitch with some of these teams. And that's why you don't know, or for me anyway, I don't know what Villa team I'm going to get when I watch them now. And Leicester was third gear. You mentioned before we started recording, Rich, that Villa to Leicester were like what Newcastle were to us.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Certainly
they just didn't have to break a sweat, really. Yeah.
But Luke, something much more important than football. You want to talk to us about a charity bike challenge that you're doing at the moment. So please tell us all about it.
Well, I finished it now.
Okay, all the show bike rides you have done then.
Yeah. Well, at the start of January, Mind were doing this 30-day challenge for Mind. You could either run, walk, bike, and you could set your own target. And at first, I didn't really want to do it because, like, for my mental health at the time was very low because, like, mine gets quite bad through the winter time. But like, it was my mum telling me to do it. And I was like, you know what? Okay, I'll do it. So I set myself 350k to cycle in 30 days, and I completed it. And you can still donate now. And at the moment, I'm on £950, and I set my target for £300. And I was just like, when I saw 950 today, I was like, I can't believe it. But like, I've had 3 punctures. I've had a snap chain, and I've had to bike in the snow. But yeah, it's just like, it's for me getting, like, raising awareness and helping myself out. And I remember when you talked about it the other day, it's like, I mentioned it in my video as well, I did for my YouTube channel. It's like, it's nothing like a physical pain where you can, like, when you've got a physical pain, you can spot it out straight away. But like with mental health, you don't, do you? So like, it's just me trying to raise awareness for people to, like, speak out more and, like, not to be ashamed about it, really. And mine's like a very close charity to my heart. So like, I'm glad I did it and I finished it in the end.
Brilliant.
Yeah, absolutely brilliant, mate. You should be super proud of yourself. I still need to donate, so I'll definitely help you get towards that £1,000. I did a mental health first aid course at my work back in, I think, was it December? But yeah, before lockdown. And you're absolutely right. If someone breaks their leg, you can see a cast on the leg, and people give them sympathy. If someone's got a mental health issue, it's almost like, I'll give them a wide berth. And because people can't see it, they can't visualize it, that they almost don't believe that it can be real. And it's affected members of my family in the past, and it's horrific. It just really is. And it's something that people live with all their life and almost learn how to manage it, and things like being active, having physical challenges, getting outside in the fresh air. I mean, look, I feel that I have good mental health, but I still see the impact that going on a walk or a run has on me, and also it makes me a better person. It makes me a better parent. I'm less ratty, if I've done my exercise, because it brings a bit of balance to my life. Mm-hmm. So I think I absolutely applaud what you've done, and to as you say, to drag yourself out in the snow to do it, then you're an absolute hero, Luke.
I've got calves like Jack Grealish at the moment.
No,
it's
mate,
not a bad thing.
Yeah, no, it's not a bad thing. But no, honestly, just to echo what Rich says there, it's a brilliant achievement. How far did you go?
350k in 30 days. So I don't know how many. That's 217 miles I did.
Brilliant.
I didn't want as many breaks as I planned, but like, obviously my bike decided to be a pain in the arse near the end. But like, yeah.
So the question is, are you going to continue the bike riding, or has the bike gone in the skip?
I'm gonna have a bit of a rest at the moment, because I went for a walk with my dog earlier, and just like, my legs I was running after my dog, and my legs were just like heavy.
Yeah. But, well, we'll get the we'll put the link out to you Just giving page again, and like you say, to over more than triple your target is absolutely amazing achievement. But hopefully we can get you over that £1,000 mark.
And I'm not sure if anyone noticed, I was, because of like living in Wednesbury, I'm like quite in the centre of everything. So I biked to Villa Park,
Yes.
I biked to the Hawthorns, unfortunately, and I biked to Bescott Stadium. I didn't bike to the Molineux or St Andrews because who wants to bike there? But it's weird how you can get to Villa Park all the way down the canal. It's just
yeah. Great. Well, no, mate, a fantastic achievement. And as I say, we'll put it on Twitter, we'll put it on Instagram. And as I say, if any of the guys listening can donate to your cause, and it's a great cause. Mental health is at the obviously COVID's at the top of the agenda, but mental health is certainly pushing it a close second. With people suffering in lockdown, job situations with people, family situations with people, and just to put that awareness out there for mental health, mate, is brilliant. So hats off to you, mate. Fantastic stuff.
Yes.
Yeah, a few of the listeners did donate as well, so thank you to them as well.
Brilliant.
Great, thank you ever so much. So now we're going to talk about a preview for the Leeds game before we finish our chat. Leeds have just beat Southampton 3-0. What are your thoughts? What have your thoughts, sorry, Luke, been on Leeds this season?
Well, as a person who doesn't really particularly like Leeds, they've done all right, to be honest. I weren't expecting them to be high, like 6th, 7th, or I was expecting them to be where they are, to be honest. And they've had a few games where they've looked like we played against Liverpool, like one of the best teams in the world. Like the dominated Southampton today. I watched the game. Bielsa's a very good manager, even though they give him a bit too much praise, in my opinion. But I like Leeds as a team. They're good. I don't like to say that, but they work together as a unit. They work really well. Bamford's showing his class as well. Rafinha as well. He'll give a lot of trouble to El Mohammadi Saturday. Yeah, I think. The overall it's a very good balanced team, and they work well together.
Yeah, I think they're a bit similar to Villa in that they don't often draw games. I think we've touched on this in the past. Dean Smith will always go for a victory wherever possible. And you look at Bielsa, and look, we've got an attachment to Leeds. We went to university there. My brother-in-law's a big Leeds fan, so I've spent a long time watching Leeds from when we were in the Championship, and I think what he's done, I think it is fantastic. What you've got to appreciate is that he's got a team. Granted, there's been a couple of additions, but he's got a team that's almost the same team that finished like 15th in the Championship when he took over, and you've got players like Stuart Dallas.
Yeah. I knew you were going to say him.
Yeah, who's there? And Luke Ayling. You've got
Liam Cooper.
Cooper bossing defenses in during Premier League games. There's a lot of players there that you would not expect them to make the step up to the Premier League. You mentioned Bamford. Bamford's done fantastically well, and there's calls for him to be selected for in the next England squad. And he was a player that couldn't cut it at Chelsea. That was,
and everything.
Yeah, every day of the week he was a Championship striker, and now he's coming. And I think they'll be knocking on the door of the top 8 next season. They'll get a bit of investment. San Francisco 49ers have invested cash in them, and I think they're ready to pump a bit more into them as well. And they're a one city team. Like the passion that you see down at Ellen Road, it's really quite infectious at times, that you've got that support for such a huge club, and we were fortunate when we lived in Leeds to be there when they were at their peak, over the last 25 years, when there were Champions League semi-finals, Rio Ferdinand, Alan Smith, Jonathan Woodgate, so I'm not surprised that they're doing as well as they are. I'm just surprised that they're doing it with the players that they've got, and they don't stop. And you mentioned that we are going to have some issues on Saturday, and I totally agree. They battered us. They battered us when we were playing well.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
It is, and you make a very good point there. I mean, they're doing very well this season, and they're a scary proposition when they do have fans back in the ground, because it is probably up there with one of the most intimidating atmospheres that you can
Yeah.
experience. You know, we saw what the supporters could do for Sheffield United, what they did for them last season, and what impact it's had not having supporters for Sheffield United this season. So for Leeds to be doing so well without being in with the first season back in the Premier League without any fans, when they do have fans there, it's going to be a pretty scary proposition. But in terms of their playing style, it's the fitness levels that they display are just are frightening, to be honest. It's a man-to-man system. Particularly matched up in midfield. What he's managed to get out of Bamford in terms of the pressing that he does across the back line is unreal. And as you say, like the ability that they show in defensive situations with I know he's signed some players, but they've been injured. You know, the international players that he's got. I think he's got Robert Koch, who's a German international.
Yeah, he started well.
Lorente, who's played today, who's a Spanish international, but they've had to play with Luke Ayling and Liam Cooper. So, yeah, it is, and when those players get back fit, they'll obviously have a lot better options. But and when they attack, they bring, against us, it was like the cavalry, wasn't it? As soon as they won that ball, they know exactly where each player needs to be in position to spring the attack. And it's only if you manage to get an interception, or if you manage to kind of get a good block in or a good tackle, you can then exploit them. But if you don't do that, then you basically got wave after wave after wave of attack. The one thing I would say about them is that if you can stay in the game, if you can, I know, and this was even to a certain extent in our game, like it was 0-0 for quite a period of time, and it was quite end to end. They scored at that key time, and we didn't react to that goal very well. And we know that we don't react very well to when we're going 1-0 down. If we can manage to get that first goal, keep it tight, get that first goal, then you can hold them at bay. And there is a way of knowing that you can beat them, that you can catch them on the break again. So they have been a breath of fresh air, like you said, Luke. Reluctantly, I want to admit that, but it's going to be a really tough game, and without Grealish and without Cash, it is another tough ask for us to get a result.
No, I agree. I mean, some people would say that it was the coaching of Tyler Roberts that has led to the success that Leeds are having at the moment. Luke, you won't know that Richard coached Tyler Roberts when Tyler Roberts was a lot younger and arguably not that good at football. And you've created this player that played tonight. You know, one of the players we didn't mention, Rodrigo. They signed him for £27 million at the start of the season, and
he's not getting in at the minute.
Well, he's I know he got injured a few weeks back against Leicester, so he might be coming back from injury, but. Yeah, like he just manages to squeeze as much as he can out of the players. Calvin Phillips will probably be out against Villa. He's been one of their standout performers this season as well. And yeah, it's tricky. I think Bielsa gets a lot of credit, and I think if
I think it's the mystique of him, isn't it?
Yeah,
it's the mystique of him as well. He doesn't talk. He doesn't do a lot of. He doesn't do his interviews in English. So there's almost like you don't quite know what you're going to get with him. So there's a mystique around him. And there's obviously the Leeds not been in the Premier League for so many years. It adds to the story, doesn't it? If he did all his interviews in sort of like broken English, it would be a different story, I think.
Oh, I absolutely agree. So I've been fortunate enough to kind of watch the rise of Leeds United over the last couple of seasons, and like the fact that he's getting a tune out of Hernandez in the Premier League. Hernandez, again, there's so many of those players that any other manager would have them at championship level for the rest of their career, and they're playing out of their skin. And as you said, Richard, they can be got at, and at some point, some of the legs are going to go. And you could argue perhaps, I know that was it Karen Carney that did it, that got a load of abuse online for it, that the COVID break helped Leeds because they was so intense that they play a high intensity, high kind of all action game, and the COVID break helped them out a little bit.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's going to be really tricky. If we think about predictions, if I'm right in thinking, I predicted 2-1 Leicester in the last game, so
2-0 you said.
2-0. I was almost there, but this week I'll go first. I think the first 20 minutes will play such a big part on the rest of the game, and Leeds will come at us. And also the thing with Leeds, they never know when they're beaten. Like that Leeds United, Man United game when they just kept conceding goals and just gave up defending and just kept pushing forward.
Yeah,
they're almost like a throwback to a Kevin Keegan team, a Newcastle Kevin Keegan team. I don't know. I'm hoping I'm hoping Dean Smith will tweak the formation a little bit and make us a bit harder to beat. And I think he might approach the game and try and take a point out of it. I think he'll be 1-1.
Fair. What about you, Luke?
Well, I usually hate to predict Villa games. I always have, because I feel like it always goes against what I say. So, but the way I watched Leeds tonight play against Southampton, who've played the majority of the season quite well. I feel like we can't concede first against Leeds because, like, again, we saw what happened last time, and we see what happened majority of the games when we concede first. We don't really like switch on to like, okay, we've got to get back in the game. I'm gonna say 2-1 Leeds. I know.
He's gone there, hasn't he? He's gone there.
He's gone there.
I know. Oh.
Fair enough.
The viewers are gonna tell me to stick to editing after this.
I think we've obviously talked at the in the review of the Leicester game in terms of potential changes that can be made, and had lots of comments from supporters talking about tweaking the formation. Nick James mentioned, is it worth playing Ollie Watkins and Traore up top? Mark Farrington said, doesn't like making wholesale changes, but potentially looking at starting Nakamba, McGinn and Ramsey or Sanson. Maybe even Kessler Hayden at right back could come in. Bielsa's not afraid to throw the kids into the starting lineup. So is he going to potentially do any worse than Elmo would do against Rafinha or Jack Harrison? I don't know, but it's a tough one. I'm going to say we're going to squeak a 1-0 win. I think Leeds, as good as Leeds were tonight, I think they are that inconsistent side, a bit like us, and it would be just our kind of season that we've been very disappointed in the last one or two games, but picked up a couple of results, even albeit by the skin of our teeth. I can see us maybe squeaking a result. So I'm going to say 1-0.
I think one thing that will dictate what happens in the game is that battle between Mings and Bamford, because Bamford definitely had the better of him in the 3-0 victory. And I think we've spoken about Mings sometimes kind of getting involved in personal battles too often. And I think that'll be an interesting duel between those two, because we've definitely got the ability on the pitch to squeak a 1-0 win. I just want us to see just bring a bit more energy.
Yeah, definitely.
And talking about energy, before we finish, let's not forget that we do the Consult Energy Energizer of the week. And this week, I'm going to give you the honor, Luke, of picking your Consult Energy Energizer of the week from the Leicester game.
Again, putting me on the spot.
Sorry about this. I mean, the thing is, you can just edit this out at the end if you want.
Yeah, okay. But I like to keep it, raw and fresh.
Good.
You know what? You'll probably think why I'm going with him. I'm going to go with Matt Target.
No, he's a good choice.
Mate, I was 100% going to. That's who I was exactly going to say.
Target.
I think yeah, I think in terms of consistency through the game and consistency throughout the last few weeks, he's been there. He's been pretty much up there with the best players on the pitch for the last few weeks. And yeah, I don't think there's going to be much argument with that. Can there, Rich?
No, I think Matt Targett made his biggest mistake before he got on the pitch on Sunday when he took Grealish out of his fancy football league team and told Leicester that he was injured. But yeah, once he was on the pitch, I don't think yeah, you're right. I don't think he's put a foot wrong for a number of weeks. I think he's really, taken that spot and made it his own.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've got one more piece of housekeeping to do, guys.
Okay.
I put a competition on Twitter to win.
Oh yeah, you did. Yeah.
Really nice print done by one of my friends, Duncan. And if you can follow him on Twitter at DMacUrban, just some really good prints on. He's done a couple of Villa designs. He's got a West Bromwich Albion design. He's a Wolves fan, unfortunately, so he's got a couple of Wolves designs. He's got a Nottingham Forest one, and he's got others in the pipeline to do as well. So check out his website and follow him at DMacUrban. So of all the entrants that we've had, I've put them all into a random generator.
And Mr. Richard Sutherland has won the artwork.
Don't say it's me. Don't say it's me, because they'll think it's rigged.
And the winner is not you, Luke, but a different Luke. It's Luke Norton.
Good work, Luke Norton.
Yeah, so I will message you on Twitter, and well done, mate. We'll get that sent out to you soon. So excellent, and we'll hopefully get a few more competitions in the future.
Well, from one successful Luke to another. Luke, thank you ever so much for coming on this evening.
Okay.
It's been a pleasure to have you on. I know we're going to talk about your top 3 games at some point in the future, but being what actually will be interesting is the fact that you are only 20. You'll have a different opinion of games that may not have made our top 3 for whatever reason.
I showed my dad actually the Dan Bardell episode, and he said my dad would have put the Tranmere game in the League Cup one.
Oh yeah, that was good, and I was there.
That was in mine. That was in mine.
It was in yours, wasn't it? Yeah. So
yeah.
What? Your dad's what? Early 40s.
He's 50 this year.
50 this year. Okay, so he would have spent a lot of time watching the games that we watched.
Listen to his stories. To be fair, he's been to the San Siro with Villa and everything. So.
Oh, superb.
Excellent.
Well, hopefully, we can have some European runs over the next few seasons, and you can get cycle to the San Siro, Luke. That's the next one. I'll put some sponsorship money towards that. Look, as always, to everyone out there listening to this podcast, we're happy for you to disagree with us. What we say is just our opinions. You can get us at Villa Park Pod on Twitter, and we want to hear your thoughts. As you will have heard today, we share your thoughts. It kind of forms a big part of our discussion. So please feel free to jump on and comment and give us some feedback, things you might want to hear in the pod that we're not doing, or things that we are doing that you really like, that you want us to keep. It could be get rid of me and keep Luke on every week, and I'll just figure out how to do the editing, and we'll make that work. But look, as always, it's just our thoughts, and if you've enjoyed our Villa chat, then please share it with others. We want to get as many people on here as guests to discuss their top 3. We want to bring, as Richard pointed out earlier, some nostalgia back to the podcasts that people listen to about the Villa. We can't be down there. We know that we might get one game. I don't even know if the last game of the season is at Villa Park. Is it at
Chelsea at home? Chelsea at
home, potentially 10,000.
So 10,000 of us might be lucky enough to get down to Villa Park, but it's still not going to be the same until till next season, when we're down there and there's 40,000 there. So until we get to that point, we want to try and bring a bit of Villa love to all the listeners out there. So Luke, thank you ever so much for coming on this evening. We'll have you on it again very soon. So we hope you enjoyed the experience.
I did. Thank you very much for inviting me on.
Not a problem. So from me, Richard Bartlett.
And me, Richard Sutherland.
Thanks for listening. Keep being Villa. Good night.
Good night.